Hello dear friends, it is still me making the videos, but very soon, if all of a sudden the NewEarth channel switches to woke spirituality, know that it is not me, but one of their deep fakes. And probably they will start with the deep fakes exactly on channels like mine who warn against the Antichrist, because what's the use of faking the plethora of other channels which preach you the so-called law of attraction? Just get the fix, just get the passport, you're safe because you think that you're spiritual. They will be not faking the channels which preach also fake Christianity or fake Islam or anything of that sort. And so, until it is still me, in this video I would like to tell you a bit more about the floods in Russia, along with some other miscellaneous topics like first aid in serious medical emergencies, and then a couple of your questions, like somebody asked, why do I get depressed when I hear the prophecies? How convenient is to buy things online, e-commerce nowadays, and also sell, yeah? You can sell even your soul now on GameStation. Basically the deal is, once you agree, at any time in the future when they send you notice about it, they will claim the soul within 5 working days. And only 12% of those who were offered this fantastic deal declined. 88% actually accepted. So the question is, already this type of openly formulated offers are flashing. How long before that will be included in all these agreements? You know, all the time we get these updates, user agreement changed, user agreement changed. So really, the times are coming when we should simply withdraw from internet. Otherwise, it is obvious where things are going. First, they will start including similar agreements in all these terms and conditions, which we cannot read because of the small print. And later on, they will openly start including it in all kinds of agreements, on and offline. So the audience of the NewEarth channel knows very well who organized and what happened actually during those hurricanes, Katrina, the mass shootings. And today I would like to show you that in Russia it is the same. The mass shooting in the Crocus Hall, more and more evidence is surfacing. It's the same story. Countless security cameras are hanging all around, and they did not publish even a single footage from them, and countless other clues and evidence that it is all set up by the same gang. And now the record-breaking floods in Russia, which at some places are reaching 12 meters and even more, have ruined over 100 villages, town, and even a couple of cities, where even the multi-storied buildings are underwater, 3 or 4 floors. And as usual, the mayor of the city where it happened, he evacuated his family before it all started. I'm saying as usual because also there is kind of war going on in that region as well, and before there is bombing from the Ukrainian side. Interestingly enough, the families of the ruling class, they evacuate before it all happens. So the flooded areas are in the Tyumensk region of Russia, and they're spilling over even to the neighboring countries like Kazakhstan. And the main dam which broke and caused the floods, they've been preparing it since long time, depriving it of repair. But the actual big flood, interestingly enough, some bad people, they were spotted breaking the dam. And interestingly enough, that was only the first dam broken in the area, while at the same time, anonymous individuals were spotted breaking also other dams in the same Tyumensk Oblast. And as a result, because the waters are staying for a long time, they are not withdrawing. Indeed, they're saying there will be more water coming and the levels will get even higher. Agriculture in this vast region is completely destroyed. All the house animals are dead. People's lives are destroyed. There is no government help, of course. And when some people, some villages made dams to stop the water themselves, first, they were threatened with fines for illegal construction, and on the top of that, TV crews came and filmed and said, "This is what our government rescue teams are doing for the people," while what actually the teams are doing, they are coming and they do nothing because they're waiting for orders, and there are no such orders besides threatening the people when they come nearby to put them off with talk about finding them. "Why are you filming me? This is not allowed. Are you like harassing government personnel because you have not switched off your phone?" But they're very well organized when it comes on forcing new fixes, new vaccines onto the people, because these terrible floods, they help spreading disease. According to some people, also it could be the water which they distribute to the people in plastic bags, but it could be also because of the terrible conditions, and many graveyards were washed away and the corpses are flowing and rotting in this radioactive soup, by the way, because radioactive industry were strategically located on the way of the water, because of course they knew all this was well prepared and calculated beforehand, where will the water flood and spread the radioactive uranium. And the flood is spreading to more and more big cities, some of them with over 1 million of inhabitants. And as far as the rural areas, they are thinking everything in advance. Once the waters subside and the people return, well, in a few months it will be not allowed to keep chicken in your yard. For now, the ban is only on free-range chicken, but later on, probably it will be all of them. And as far as the bigger animals, well, they have killed most of them already by those so-called doctors which come to a region, declare that the animals are sick without testing them, and then they simply murder them. In Russia, this has been going on in much larger scale than in the other countries where it is just a few big farms here and there. In Russia, they're just eliminating all domestic animals. In one prophecy, the current situation was described like this: "And the governments will make sure that people have no rest and never stop even for 1 second while they run the short way to hell." Whatever government rescue teams are on the spot, they are only doing performance work for the media to convince the rest of the population that they are actually helping. But when the cameras are not filming, they are only threatening the people to make sure that they don't make any arrangements to save their homes from the water in the areas where the waters have not arrived yet. For actual help, we never have money and resources. Yeah, they have only money for important stuff, like creating digital doubles of the people. Yet another new weird government law over there. Everybody will be having a digital double for the purpose of helping him and advising him and talking to him. Not sure how exactly, but they're giving hints only for now. Before it was just somebody talking from the machine, but in future it will be much more, they say. For that, they always have enough funds. And by the way, it's an internationally coordinated operation because in Kazakhstan, the neighboring country, the situation is the same. The high waters are coming, and whatever barriers the people try to build themselves, the TV comes and films them and says this is what our rescue teams have done. But what they are actually doing is when some help comes from private people, like from neighboring regions or something, which is donated by the people themselves, they grab it, they either take it, or if they give it to the people, they say this is from the government. And at the same time, there are massive floods in China and Dubai. I don't know if the Chinese are directly man-made, because indirectly everything is man-made by the consciousness of the residents, but in Dubai they are even officially properly man-made because they are a result of cloud seeding. And even after this recent unseen for the region floods in Dubai have done so much damage to the people, still there is no apology from the side of the government, who has practically organized all this, neither any regret nor any intent to stop doing it again. So obviously on collective level it is just too late to remedy the situation. The Satanists have converted most of the people, they have fixed them, they have control over their minds, so they will not stop with their current way of life. That's why these things will keep happening. But what can we do for us to reduce the chances that we become a victim of similar floods? Of course, the most important is genuine spiritual practice and repentance for everything wrong we might have done. But yet on the other, the practical side, it is good to live on higher altitude and in less populated regions. Because let's face it, they have done a lot. The Satanists, they have an extensive infrastructure, but they don't have the technical capability to organize this for each and every person living in the isolated mountains. They do have their resource limit, like their ambitious plan of the line in Saudi Arabia is now failing. Due to lack of funding, it will be 100 times shorter. Well, 100 times. And by the way, maybe this verse from the Bible refers to this construction exactly. Yes, the best place to settle currently seems to be a small cabin just in the wilderness, somewhere far away from the sea, because the sea and ocean shores will not be a safe area during the upcoming tribulation. And maybe now are the last couple of years or last couple of months in which you can get such a cabin if you don't have one yet. Because soon they will announce the cashless society, and then there will be strict regulation. So if they don't like it that people get cabins in the wilderness, you won't be able to buy it. And yet another good thing about living in such a cabin is that the mountains, the secluded mountain areas, have been famous for the best place for those who want to meet the Lord. Somehow it is famous in many cultures. Spiritual practices give fruit faster in the mountains. And as far as this chain of ever-increasing worldwide disasters and calamities, everything seems to go exactly as outlined in the prophecies, where, if you remember the previous videos, first it will seem that some evil people are conspiring against humanity, and they will be organizing everything. And indeed, they are behind most earthquakes, hurricanes, floods. Superficially, they're the ones responsible with their technology. But on a deeper level, the prophecies continue. Later on, calamities will intensify even more, because during the second part, they will come directly from the Lord. Like the earthquakes, even now they are horrible, so much damage and death, but later on, they will be so much stronger that they will be tossing and throwing the people up in the air. And I'm not reminding you this to scare you, but to remind you also what is the solution for all that. Recently, there was a saintly lady with prophetic abilities. She actually left this world a week ago or something like this. In this video, you can learn more about her life, miracles, and prophecies. And from her, regarding the calamities, I heard something which, by the way, is confirmed by Peter Dunuff. They both say that the calamities will be of undescribable for now magnitude, and after they are over, there will be a strange sight, like an entire village is devastated or entire area, and you just see one or two houses standing amongst the rubble. Well, these will be the houses of the people who did not accept the passport, who do not have technology at home, the people who are free from envy and revenge. Peter Dunoff also elaborated that houses without electricity will be actually somehow spared. And it is not just, okay, you don't have the passport, so they cut off your electricity. Even when we are allowed to use it, it's still better not to do it. He says actually places for meditation and schools, they should not have electricity. The very presence of this thing in a building already clouds the consciousness of those who are in the building. And many people who end up in a situation, in an environment without electricity for some period, many of them report that all of a sudden they feel unbelievable clarity. Some people install special switches at home so that at night they simply shut down all electricity in the house. And this is a very good practice, but the best is to have a mechanical switch, because the modern switches, you just disconnect something, but an electrician explained to me that still they can transmit certain impulses even when these modern switches are set on off. The solution is to have those older mechanical switches, and for now you could start with some sort of mechanical switch and keeping all technology somewhere in an outbuilding, not in the house where you live, and eventually make proper arrangements to get rid of all modern mechanics. Once the golden age starts, we will be using the future clean technology. But now there will be a short period when renunciation is required. So while the Tymensky region is underwater in Russia, in the Belgorodsky region, one day school children, some 13,000 of them, did not come back home. The parents didn't know what is happening at all, but later on it turned out that their children are sent to evacuation camps for their protection, and there is nothing unlawful about it, because all the parents, without knowing it, at some time in the past they signed some document at school, and one of the small print's points was that in case of danger, the children can be taken to camps without even informing the parents for maximum of 21 days. which are now over. Even after 21 days, the kids are not back home. And the explanation this time is that there was some discrepancy with the transport, which was supposed to bring them back. Here in the comments, somebody mentions a new program for using children in the military. Yeah, in that case, the parents are no longer needed. What was it? First, they will finish off all men, then all boys of all age, and after that, they will start going house to house to take all girls of age above 14 by force to send them to the front line. And that was in the prophecies and in the news. All these are girls, young girls, look teenage. They are being sent to the front line. And by the way, other interesting points from these prophecies are she was saying that about the current war with Ukraine. She said this is nothing end. This is just a preliminary scare. When the real war starts, and it will later on, it will be way worse than now. Once somebody asked her, when will the great starvation take place? And she said, shortly after I die. And by the way, she even announced the day in which she will die long before it happened, the exact date, so she knew what is she talking about. So in Russia they have no funds for the people who have been made homeless by the floods and just squat in the fields without water and food quite often. But they care so much for the security of their people that they're installing these wonderful intercom devices in the multi-storied buildings. It is even free of cost. And it is so urgent to the point that to the dismay of the dwellers of the buildings, without any warning, one day when they come back home, the door is locked and there is this device with a note on it. You get the first card for scanning free if you want to get to your apartment, of course. And this is just for a start. Later on, there are high-tech cameras, so they will recognize you by biometric data. Initially, they just had a couple of them here and there in Moscow during the pandemic, and they were used to facially recognize the people who were not supposed to enter certain buildings, and the door would remain just locked for them. But now they're into mass free distribution all over the country. A reminder about the old prophecy where it was said that those who do not accept the mark of the beast will be prevented from entering their homes in the city, to the point that they will have to run away with the single shirt which is on them that day. In Russia, thousands of true Orthodox people who honor Otrok Vyacheslav, they simply flee the cities. They sell their homes there until they can. I have not heard of this going on in any other country. At other places, it seems to be just individuals here and there who understand how important that is. So, few practical points about medical emergencies, like including serious things like heart attacks or strokes. More than 99% of the modern people will consider insanity and gross ignorance for somebody to suggest that the ambulance should not be called in such case. In the books of Dr. Vernon Coleman, there are very interesting statistics in this regard. For example, when there were long medical strikes, like month-long or something like this, and the emergency patients were simply refused treatment, all of a sudden the mortality rate drops twice or even more. But within a couple of short years, even those who believe in ambulances will not be able to call them. Nobody will be answering at places, even in the so-called developed countries. They begin with these practices and not answering emergency calls, or if they take the people, they kill them instead of treating them. But absolutely regardless in what type of healing you believe, it is very likely that during the upcoming apocalypse, you may end up in a situation when people will need help urgently, and there will be no healer of any type to give qualified help. So here are some practical points to consider. First of all, I've got a couple of survival books, and actually they have very good sections on first aid. Like in the past, people were putting herbal poultices. Do not underestimate their efficiency. For example, this plant, when made into poultice, will heal broken bones. Another thing which I recommend is to always have a bit of dragon's blood sap and carry it with you. I always have like 5 milliliters in my purse. More about this amazing panacea at the end of this video. Now, what if somebody is already in coma because of stroke or heart attack? Actually, experiments have been made, and Reiki is very, very efficient in such cases, especially if you have few people who can do Reiki and they put their hands immediately after the emergency arises. If the circumstances allow, I will make a second NewEarth get-together event again at the same place in Bulgaria, and this time I will teach Reiki to anybody who wishes for free. Actually, in the modern hospitals, if they have this, in the emergency rooms, groups of 10, 20, 30 people who do Reiki, and they do it immediately as emergency patients arrive. Plenty of miracles for the current standards will be happening immediately. Because especially for strokes and heart attacks, when by chance there is a nearby even one person with Reiki, many miracles have been reported in such cases. So we can only guess how it will be when many people do Reiki at once. Something like the healing ceremony in the Avatar movie. Now, what about people who are not properly trained in Reiki? Well, they should be trying to imitate it somehow, because especially if these people do not take the passport, their Reiki might be awakening naturally. They may not be even aware of it, because Reiki is something, it's like a dormant ability which everybody has. And quite often people who are doing genuine spiritual practice, they have their Reiki opened and activated without any extra endeavor. So you may try, instead of just crying and feeling sorry around a relative who is in pain or in very bad condition, you may simply try to imitate doing Reiki, and it may work. And the more people join you, the better. And while doing Reiki or trying to do Reiki, all the people, they should pray, they should be calm, they should not cry in panic, and instead they should concentrate on the prayers. And those who remember some 5 years ago when I had paralyzed shoulder and asked everybody to pray for me at a certain time, it most definitely helped beyond any doubt. So don't think that Reiki and prayer are something abstract which may help or not. They do help, just on time. And now they're putting implants even in the fish ponds. Wow, how far are we from what Vyacheslav foretold, that they will be implanting all animals, including the insects? The artificial intelligence is now employed at the courts to help the judges take decisions. Obviously, it is just a question of time when it will start taking decisions on its own. It is already entrusted with diagnosing the patients in the hospitals. Do you remember those laws since a couple of years ago, which allow people being imprisoned even without committing anything wrong, but just because some pattern has been recognized in them, and that, according to somebody, means that they are likely to commit crime. And anyway, who determines what is crime? Well, the artificial intelligence now does it. The end is getting nearer and nearer. People start seeing demons around. Just type in the search engine demon face syndrome, and people start seeing demons in the mornings. Actually, this has always been the time when more sensitive people, for a couple of seconds, still see what is going on in the immediate vicinity, because when we sleep, we all see everything very clearly in the dream world, and then we forget it when we wake up. This very short transition, the moment we wake up, is actually the time when we blink and close our real eyes, and sometimes we manage to see a bit more. And that's why the people see the demons more in those hours. The demons are always there, just they don't see them in the other times of the day. And we see more and more of the foods which Vyacheslav told us about. They will invent new types of food. He explained it will not be just the processing and the new recipes. They will redefine what is food altogether. And here comes the molecular farm magic is already on the table, and they have promised this is only the beginning. So let's see what is this new beginning all about. Pig protein in soya. How does it get there? What is molecular farming? Here we read the first recommended by Google result. Just read on newscientist.com for yourself. What is it all about? Basically, the way they impose the characteristic of one cell on another is by making it aggressive like a virus, or it is a virus actually. Here, the cultured pig cells, they are like agrobacteria, microorganisms that infect the plants and transfer to them some of their genes. Mamma mia, no wonder they have chosen the pigs to start with, the most unclean animals, not only in common sense, but also in spiritual. In many spiritual traditions, they are considered untouchable, the pigs. No question of eating their meat. But probably their prime consideration for selecting exactly the pig in this case is that the pigs, they have 98% genetic DNA similarity with humans. The chimpanzees have 99 and the pigs 98. So it is much easier to use pig material and put it in the food, and then the people who eat it, they will be modified in the way the producers want. And the vegan community, which is a massive community, they're embracing this type of foods. And I wanted to add something to the vegan topic, on which I devoted a couple of videos recently. Why some people feel not well when they don't eat meat, they feel that they need it for their sustenance, and others, they're fine without meat. The answer is in the set books of Jane Roberts. He describes the body as an instrument, as a dwelling place of the soul, as a vehicle. And it is a perfect vehicle because it can adjust to any diet, more or less. That's why many people live on junk food and still they are healthy, while some health freaks are sick all their lives. Of course, the healthy junk food eater will still have his consciousness affected and lowered by the junk food, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he will be sick. This is also mentioned by Seth. But the question at hand is why some people get sick without meat while others do not. It is not about the vehicle design, it is about the belief system of the soul which dwells in the vehicle. And that's the main thing. How exactly the belief system of the dwelling soul is being translated into matter, which are the characteristics of the body, is quite a complicated thing. The fast food spirituality people, the law of attraction, most of them like only simple explanations. So they will say, well, those who believe that they need nutrition from the meat, or otherwise their body will be harmed, that will be true for them, and indeed their body will be harmed. But this is just the most simple case of it. In reality, it's way more complicated. There are other types of beliefs, like, for example, that somebody may be convinced that the meat is the most tasty thing, and if he may try to become a vegetarian, because contradicting beliefs are also possible, but he will feel sorry, oh, and now forever I will not have access to the most tasty foods. Or another example, other people may consider that becoming vegetarian is strange, and he will be perceived as a weird individual by the society, he will be ridiculed, disrespected. All these types of beliefs, they may result in malnutrition when meat is not included in the diet. And in addition to that, many people, they are desperately looking for an excuse to quit being vegetarian. So if they get weak for any other reason, they will blame it on being vegetarian just so that they can return to meat eating without feeling guilty. Here a viewer of West Bank is asking me if he should stay there, even if it is not in the city. I really don't know, it's too hard to give advice in such situations. The saints have told us, those who do not take the mark will be guided by the angels where to go and where to hide. And then he says that the Holy Land is in the center of everything. But this doesn't get enough coverage on the NewEarth channel. But I think it is getting an excessive amount of attention recently, and it all started with the edition and reshaping of the Bible by the Jesuits, according to Anatoly Fomenko, who is a very, very honest source. There are plenty of clues that the geographical locations have been altered. They kind of relocated the Holy Land to another deserty region, while actually it was in a region with snow. Well, I'm not sure to what extent that is true, because on the other hand, from Seth we know that there were three historic figures which were combined by the legends to make what now we call collectively Jesus, so it might be a bit more complicated than we would expect. But it wasn't just Anatoly Fomenko decades ago. Now Alexander Paramonov also exposes manipulative focusing of attention to the what now famous as Holy Land is just propaganda, preparation for the coronation of the Antichrist. The actual capital of the sacred race, and Jesus, who was one of them, that is on the banks of river Volga, as we have been told by the Vedas, by the Scandinavian scriptures. And then with the most recent developments of the war in the Ukraine region, all these videos started surfacing where we see certain representatives of the tribe which claims to be nowadays the people of the Lord, although according to their own researchers and a plethora of other sources that is not really true in a bloodline sense. But anyway, they're famous in that way nowadays. Strange that they have claims, and I have seen them say it on video, they have claims on the land of Ukraine. And surprise, surprise, exactly those lands on the banks of River Volga. In the previous videos I showed you already they're fighting. Their flag is already on the front line. Officially over there in Ukraine, on the Ukrainian front line. So I will personally let time show where is the real Holy Land. For now, I'm not sure for myself. Certainly, the Kaaba is a very holy place. I do trust the Islamic scriptures in this regard. And it could be possibly true that at the second coming, during his second coming at the end, Christ might be even buried there because of the chivalry of certain Muslim warriors who will fight fiercely during the times of Armageddon against the Dajjal. But other than the Islamic sources, everything biblical and evangelical on the Holy Land, this is all mainstream stories. The very fact that they are mainstream and are being promoted by the Satanists already says something. And the other stories about Christ, which are not mainstream, people haven't even heard much about them. Recently I was surprised that they are even legends all the way from Wales, according to which Christ was not crucified. That is something I believe anyway, because of other sources, a couple of other sources, all of them reliable. And instead of getting crucified, when the story spread, he went to Wales and lived his life there. Eventually he was buried there, and not far from the place where it supposedly happens, there are two towns named Jerusalem and Bethlehem. According to less edited versions of the Bible, Christ, he went even to the Americas. Another viewer of the channel sent me the following question. He said, I get depressed when I listen to the prophecies. Why is that? Is there no merciful God who is personally interested in helping me? And the answer is that this merciful God is there. But over the centuries, the parasites have been bending and distorting even the most fundamental truths, like who is God and how exactly is He merciful to us. This distortion has reached such monstrous proportions that at the end, some people start wondering, is there any God at all? Because he doesn't seem to be merciful. He doesn't seem to correspond to the description. Maybe he is not even there. Actually, the description has been distorted with this modern woke philosophies. The woke interpretation of the word merciful is that God must deactivate the law of karma because the modern woke people don't like it. And that's why when some people face the fruits of their own karma, they get angry with God, or they just decide He is not there. And all this is interconnected with many other false beliefs. Like, for example, how can I be responsible for things which other incarnation of my soul did? It wasn't me. That's what the modern gurus tell to their students. Unfortunately, it is simply not true. Unfortunately, or fortunately. For example, Peter Deneuve, he said that if now I go on the main square and I start healing people indiscriminately and completely, or resurrecting dead people, the masses, the crowds will be very happy. Finally, a representative of the God, the way we want him, the way we expect him to be. But he says if I start doing that, actually, first of all, it will interfere with my work as a teacher. I will not have any time to teach anymore, because I will be always followed by endless crowds of sick people, whom, if I heal, I will not really help, because it will encourage them further to live in sin. Because you see how easy it is. You can do anything and then you go to the healer and it is all cancelled. Actually, that will discourage most people to inquire into the absolute nature of reality. People have become so philosophically shallow nowadays that surveys show that most people believe that heaven exists, but much less of them believe that hell even exists. That is the result of the modern gurus who are preaching that, you see, you just imagine that you don't have any karma and everything is cancelled. If it was that easy, then why the Satanists are harvesting such success in building hell on earth? They have managed to make the life hellish for quite a few millions of people already. Currently, the number of people who live in basically hellish conditions on earth is far greater than those who really live heavenly life. Because yes, many people are rich, but their lives are usually not heavenly at all. And still, the delusional humanity believes in heaven. And as far as hell, what the hell? There is no hell. And currently, the situation is quite complicated, because on one side, humanity as a whole is not educated about the karma and what causes terrible disasters and suffering in life, and on the other side we are nearing the tribulation, which will be those last few moments before the golden age. And in that final push, all the ugly and terrible karma which has been hiding in the dark corners of the beings will come to the spotlight, because that's the nature of this magical entry gate in the golden age. If you try to go through the gate together with your sins, you are forced to experience their fruit immediately. That's why the incarnated devils who came from hell preach amongst the people that there is no hell, to recruit more volunteers for their party. Now, the rest of the video will be actually a material which I published a couple of months ago about the wonderful medicine of the dragon's blood tree sap, which I mentioned earlier today. For those who have been watching the NewEarth channel last year, for them this will be nothing new. Presenting to you today an exceptionally good panacea, and that's the dragon's blood tree. For the last couple of months I've been trying the dragon tree sap on me and other people for everything, literally all problems, and the result has been 100% success. So now I'm gonna tell you some practical applications, all of which are tested, starting with the most spectacular I have seen so far, and that is the ability to stop bleeding. Like 2 days ago I cut my hand, and a wound that would normally bleed, I don't know, 15 minutes or half an hour, stopped bleeding in 1, I don't know, maximum 2 minutes. So for bleeding and injuries, you apply generously all over the wound, keep it uncovered for some minutes. It will dry up, and then for the rest of the day just avoid to wet your hand, let the substance stay there. That's in case you have the liquid tree sap, which you can store refrigerated for years. And in my ethnobotanicals, where I got the tree sap, they also had something like dehydrated sap. So that will be maybe for the times when there will be no electricity for the refrigerator. And back to the wound injury. Not only it stops bleeding, also wounds which are treated like this heal much faster, and it can, I don't know to what extent, but be also disinfectant substitute because of the antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and anti-everything else you can imagine properties which are not denied even by the modern scientific establishment. As far as historically, before dragon's blood used to be a major panacea in the medicines of both the Americas and Asia. And in terms of versatility and range of application, dragon's blood is certainly one of the most flexible and literally magical things. Not only it cures all kinds of physical things, both chronic and acute, but it is also used in the treatment of psychological problems and a lot in practical magic all across the earth. Dragon's blood should be applied on open wounds as soon as possible, preferably immediately. The wound will bleed maybe 10 or 20 times less. The infection risk will be reduced a lot, and it will heal at least 2-3 times faster, I think. The sap is also a replacement for all kinds of sunburn creams or medicines, and it is the traditional treatment for burned skin. Ideally, you would consider, if you have some sort of serious deep burning, maybe to make a mixture of dragon's blood and aloe. It is one of the most common active ingredient for the high-end, expensive natural anti-aging creams. If you have a nasty wound full of pus, which is not yet coming out, you can apply the dragon's blood on the top. It will penetrate and work inside even though the wound is not open. Just take a few drops or half a spoon orally and apply generously topically, and then when it dries, keep it there all day long, the fine crust of dragon's blood, without wetting it. If you are covering an open wound to protect from dust or something like that, make sure the bandage is breathing. Recently I gave dragon's blood to 2 people who had severe eye infection, like really swollen and everything red. One of them almost unable to open his eyes. As a result, both felt that the misery subsided considerably within 15-20 minutes. The swelling started visibly subsiding in less than an hour. In 1-2 hours they forgot that they had infection, and by the next day all traces of redness or swelling vanished. They just applied half a teaspoon of the sap around the eyes. I think it got into the eyes themselves as well, but that didn't cause any irritation. The sap can be taken orally. In the beginning, the first time, few drops, and as one uses it more and more over time, one will need up to half a teaspoonful at a time. Initial dose would be 5 to 8 drops, something like that. And that is really for all sicknesses without exception, for all types of digestion problems, ulcers, cancers, anything contagious, all viruses, funguses. And no matter what people have, all of them, when they took even just few drops, all of them reported immediate effects. An example from yesterday. Somebody felt really not well because of milk intolerance. It's a problem which the person had lifelong. So even just with a few drops, or was it half a teaspoonful, he got an immediate relief. Of course, a single dose didn't cure the long-term dairy intolerance, but it wouldn't be at all surprising if that happens if he takes for a couple of months, for example. When there will be no health care, we'll have to try things, and certainly dragon's blood is one of the first, which will be worth trying. Up to 2 or maybe 3 for bigger people, teaspoonfuls per day would be a safe dosage. Of course, in the beginning it is wiser to start with smaller doses and only subsequently take teaspoonfuls, so that the body develops the tolerance towards the medicine slower. Dragon's blood sap can be used topically and internally for bladder and female organ infections. For the purpose, take a little bit orally, smear the corresponding area from the outside generously, and insert half or 1 spoon internally there. The lady who told me her experience has this very stubborn infection for which the standard doctors, the mainstream doctors, would prescribe antibiotics and long treatments, while with the dragon's blood it's simply once and that's it, the infection is over. And of course it helps regulating monthly cycles, because it helps for everything. Also, my cats, they get wounded very often because of neighborhood fights, so pus wounds are very common. I put the dragon's blood topically immediately as I notice them, and I would say they heal few times faster than usual. Like a wound which would normally take a week to subside, I see that it gets smaller, the pus pockets, within hours when I apply dragon's blood. And all these expensive rescue remedies, like probably Bach's rescue remedy is the most famous out of all. People take them, that's because that's what's there in the shops, so the herbalists have to recommend that. But are there any really tangible effects from them? I've personally never felt any. In terms of actually rescuing, the dragon's blood seems to be at least 1,000 times more effective. You can put dragon's blood in your toothpaste, in your hair nourishment mask, or as a short-term hair color, an emergency instant hair color. And probably by now many people wonder if it is really helping for everything. Will it really cure my allergy or cancer or anxiety or a stubborn skin problem? In most cases, chronic problems require longer treatment, and I have not experimented with that. But from the results I'm getting so far and what I have read, for anything skin related, you do have a good chance. You just have to apply for a longer period. While for other things like cancers and allergy, I think it's really worth experimenting. Certainly it does what that they call maintenance in such situation much better than anything else. That's for sure. And if you try for longer period, let me know what is the result. The resin of the dragon's blood tree is used in magic rituals from A to Z all over the world, everywhere where it grows. The scent is very similar to that of white copal. The sap is of course also used in all kinds of magic rituals, for example as ink for writing.